House Speaker Nancy Pelosi asking President Trump a short time ago via a letter to delay his State of the Union address until the government is reopened, citing a lack of funding for the Secret Service, which is part of Homeland Security. As lawmakers from the Bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus will be meeting with President Trump about 1/2 hour from now. Pelosi writing to the president, quote, "Sadly, given the security concerns and unless government reopens this week, I suggest that we work together to determine another suitable date after government has reopened for this address, or for you to consider delivering your State of the Union address in writing to the Congress on January 29th. Let's bring in Guy Benson, political editor for townhall.com, co-host of Benson and Harf, and a Fox News contributor. Guy, good morning to you. Is that a reasonable request of the president?
Democrats will say, yes, of course it is. We shouldn't have law enforcement professionals and Secret Service agents who aren't being paid protecting all of us while this government shutdown persists. I think what you hear from the White House and Republicans is Pelosi saying that these professionals can't do their job and persist in fulfilling their duties in the middle of this partisan disagreement? Of course they can, and it seems like Pelosi is more concerned about her own security than the security of the U.S. border, right? So I think we're going to see another round of fisticuffs on this. And my suspicion, I don't know, but my suspicion is that President Trump will say no thank you to this suggestion. I plan on showing up as invited based on the agreed upon date and time. And that will then be back in Pelosi's court to decide whether or not she wants to disinvite the President of the United States from giving the speech, at which point he would potentially have a choice to either give it from the Oval Office. Maybe Mitch McConnell could invite him to the Senate. He could give it there. There would be options, but I don't think that Trump is going to play ball with this idea where Pelosi says, let's not give you an opportunity to address the entire country in prime time on this very issue with a captive audience and a lot of people standing and applauding for your points. I understand where both sides are going to argue here.
All right, we'll see where that goes. And when we get a White House response to that, we will certainly share that with everyone. Meanwhile, The Hill writes Nancy Pelosi has her troops in lockdown and are walking in step as the Democrats face off against President Trump over border security. In that piece, The Hill writes, quote, virtually every Democrat has adopted Pelosi's position of refusing to negotiate on Trump's border wall before the government is reopened. Some Democrats said that while Pelosi's handling of the standoff is commendable, the nature of the debate has given her an easy hand to play. The piece quotes Brian Higgins, a Democrat from New York, saying she's demonstrated that she is a very formidable congressional counterbalance to the White House. Is that the case, Guy?
Yeah, the Democrats seem very happy with her leadership thus far. She also just this week blocked one of her critics within her party of getting a plum seat on a committee that she was interested in. So, you know, if you come for the queen, you better not miss, and they missed badly, her critics, that is. And she's now presiding over this fight with President Trump. I think the Democrats are united in their opposition to Trump, not so united in their opposition to physical barriers. That might be some of the cracks in the wall for the Democrats, and I know the White House is trying to exploit or highlight. But again, these moderate Democrats, many of whom have said, yes, we're open to barriers, let's do that. After we reopen the government, they unanimously rejected yesterday an invite from the president to come and negotiate. And that's, I think, a signal that the Democrats, for now, are sticking with Pelosi. They see the polls. They have an advantage politically on this issue. I think the counterpoint that Republicans ought to make and are making is, if we're going to resolve this problem, if we're going to reopen the government, negotiations and compromise is going to be necessary. Polling also shows that the American people wants compromise on this issue. That's what they're looking for. And you're not going to reach a compromise if no one is meeting with anyone from the other side of the aisle. So I guess the Problem Solvers Caucus might try to solve this problem today, but I guess my hopes are dim because right now the president's dug in and the Democrats have rallied around Pelosi.
An interesting name, and it sets expectations pretty high.
It does.
We got response from a Republican, Congressman Doug Collins, on America's Newsroom earlier to Democrats opposing the wall. Here he is.
If they're so opposed to a wall, then start putting in legislation to tear down the walls and tear down the fences at our ports of entry and at those other areas where it's already been built. If it's not needed, you can't have it both ways. You can't say it doesn't work, and you can't say that we need it.
Well, day 24 are we on now, Guy? Where does this go?
Well, yeah, I think it's 26, 25, 26.
Okay.
We're up there. I understand the point that the congressman is making. I think that could be put in the form of a question to Pelosi specifically, because some of her members have said that they're willing to go with more barriers. Many Democrats have voted for that, even in the recent past. It was Pelosi who used the word immoral to describe walls. And I would love to see reporters press her specifically on what she means by that. Why are walls immoral? And if they are, in fact, immoral, why not say tear down the existing walls if they are symbols and monuments to immorality? That's a question that I haven't heard asked of her yet. Perhaps the press corps members of them are watching our very program today and might pose that one to her at some point, because I think that's a piece of rhetoric here that makes very little sense to me and most Americans would disagree with and reject.
Well, it is Wednesday, January 26th. That makes it day 26 of this shutdown showdown. Guy Benson, thank you.
Thank you.